What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Strength is the Foundation. Today, I'm going to take you through an activation routine for you to perform before you squat heavy. Let's have a look. Whoa, look at this old boy. I made that look half decent, didn't I? Anyhow, right, so clearly I didn't just walk straight into the gym, chuck a pile of weight on the squat rack, in the squat rack, and then start squatting. I'm going to have to do a little bit of warm up, a little bit of loosening up, especially at my age anyway. So this is a series that I do, which helps me prepare for my squat. So whenever I'm squatting heavy, or even if I'm not going to go super heavy, I'll still go through a series of these activations. You can pick which ones that suit you. You don't have to do every single one, but you can pick which ones that suit you and go with that. But I'm going to take you through what I do and what the stuff that I know and the rationale behind it. And the first one is called a hip CAR, and CAR stands for controlled articular rotation. So basically, we are trying to move the hip into a number of different positions or joint actions that the hip is supposed to go through. For instance, hip goes through flexion, extension, abduction, horizontal adduction, and adduction. It goes through internal and external rotation. So we're trying to hit most of those movements using this kind of hip CAR series. Now, I'm doing this as best I can because obviously, my range of movement is going to be different from someone else. So what I would suggest you do is take your time going through this. So the way we do it is bring your knee up to the top. Right, I'm going to go through this slowly. Yeah, knee up to the top, and then it didn't look really that obvious there. But what I did was I tipped my heel, the outside of my heel, trying to tip it towards the ceiling to get some internal rotation of my hip. So as I got up the top, I tipped my heel outwards, as if I'm trying to point to the ceiling. Depending on how mobile you are or how mobile your hips are, you may or may not get much movement out of that. I'm getting as much movement as I can, given my mobility, my age, etc. So I tip the heel or the ankle up towards the ceiling as much as I can, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it round to the back now. What I'm trying to do, and honestly I am really trying to do this, so what I'd like you guys to try is to keep that hip as high as you can. I know it's kind of dropped a little bit there, so maybe I got a little bit lazy, but try and keep that hip as high as you possibly can from this position here. Let me just pop it right back, just here. Oops. Oh, I've gone too far back. Don't worry about it. Okay, so from here, so I'm going to tip my ankle towards the ceiling. Blink and you miss it. So ideally, I'm trying to keep that knee as high as I can here. I know my knee drops, but for you, try and keep your knee as high as you can. And then that goes behind me. And then what that is going to be is a hip extension. Well, that was a hip extension, loosely. And then I'm going to bring it right back to the front. Okay, so go back into hip flexion, then back to hip extension, and then I'm going to turn my heel out again and bring it round to the front again. So it's kind of like doing over the gate. When you're doing, if you imagine when you guys, I don't know, played football or rugby in school, you used to go over the fence or over the gate with each leg in order to warm up your hips. That's kind of the same thing. That's all it is. So I tend to do, I say 5 to 10 each side. I personally go for more or less the 10s, and do it quite slowly. Yeah, so try and take your time going through the movement or the joint actions of your hip for this particular one here. I'm holding I'm holding on to this piece here to keep myself as upright as I can. So try and stand as tall as you can. Switch on your middle here, switch on your core. Don't make yourself go all like floppy and everything, but just stay nice and tall and perform the movement. So try and keep your shoulders nice and still and square as you're doing it. So try and not move anything around up here, and make sure all the movement comes from the hip. So that is your hip car. I'll do that. I'm doing that one slightly better than I did on the other leg. The next one I do is called a hip airplane. I do it holding on to something. A lot of people can do this without holding on to anything, and they make this kind of, they pull their arms out, like put their arms out here like an airplane, and they move from side to side. I don't have the best balance in the world for that, and I'm also trying to, I'm not doing this exercise as a stability movement. I'm actually trying to warm up my hip. So this is a little bit of extra work for the internal and external rotators of the hip. So what we're doing, if you look at this position I've got here, it's kind of like, if you imagine a single leg RDL. So if this wasn't here and I was trying to perform a single leg RDL and I'm hinging on one hip, and that's the kind of shape that you actually want to create. So I've got my head and my ankle in one perfect straight line. And all I'm going to do is internally and externally rotate the hip by swiveling about the hip. We'll have a look at this right here. See? Swiveling about. So I'm opening the hip here and then closing. So as I close the hip there, you get a really good stretch. We'll see it from the other side in a second. But you get a really nice stretch on the hip of the standing leg. So we'll let that play a little bit more. Open up the hip, close the hip. Here we go. So that's the standing leg, and I really get a nice stretch here, and then a nice squeeze at the top. So really take your time again and open up the hip and close the hip. So open and close. Try and maintain the shape you've got here so that you'll get the maximum benefit of that internal external rotation of your hips. So that I would normally do, again, 5 to 10 on each side. No, actually I do a bit more than that. I do about 10 to 12. Right, and the next one is a quad and hand rock back. So you're literally just sitting in a kind of lunge position, put your knees down here, and then lunge forward, and then I lunge backwards. And you notice how I flick my foot out there and get my heel on the floor, so I can get a nice stretch on here. So watch how the foot moves. So I'll keep moving the foot backwards and forwards in order to get the best benefit out of that movement. So the end, the foot flicks there we go, and then the hamstring comes into play here. So it's just a rock back and forward, and again, take your time to feel the stretch you've got here, and then feel the stretch in your hamstring as you come down. And then I do the other side as well. So again, 10 to 15 either side. I mean, these days I think I'm probably doing about 15s. This is called a frontal plane hip rock. And what you want to be doing, so again, it's a frontal plane, so you're moving side to side. Okay, so imagine you've got a plane of glass in front of you, and you're moving from side to side. So what I tend to do on this, on the kneeling leg or the kneeling hip, is I'll squeeze my glute at the back to make sure that my hip, so I'm going to be extending my hip. Okay, so squeeze the glute, extend the hip to give as much room as I possibly can within this hip here, because the movement is going to come about here. So let's have a look at that. Oh, my mouse froze for a second. There we go. So, and we're going to rock side to side. So I'm not actually, I mean, although it looks like I'm trying to do something here, not really. I'm actually trying to move about the hip. So move about the hip. So the idea is not to come all the way down here with the knee. We're not trying to work this area here. We're trying to work the hip of the kneeling leg, so that we're trying to move it side to side, the frontal plane of your hip. So again, 10 to 15 reps on each side. And again, take your time with it. It's not a race. We're not trying to warm up as quickly as humanly possible, so that if you can get to our workout. The idea is to take your time. If you find some bits in your hip which it feels a little bit stiff, a little bit tight, just hang out there a little bit. Just hang out there. Make sure you've loosened it up properly, and then it feels good to move around. This is called an adductor rock. So that's to actually work the adductor here. So what I'm doing is I've got a kneeling leg here. We'll see it from the other side in a second. But I've got a kneeling leg here. And then this leg is lateral, straight out to the side. Okay, and stretch it straight out to the side, knees locked up, and I've got my hands on the floor, and all I'm doing is rocking backwards and rocking forward. You'll see how it works. Push back and push forward. So we're getting a lot of movement around the hip on the kneeling knee, and then we're getting some movement around the adductor of the outstretched leg. So you can see how that works here. Push forward, push back. Again, take your time. You're getting some nice stretching and nice activation around the shoulders as well, because you are pushing backwards and forwards and then holding. You're putting your hands down here and holding the shoulders in place. So the shoulders are moving forwards and back. So they're getting a nice warm up as well. There you go. Push forward, push back. So this is a really nice one for the adductor, and one that I like to put in. So the next one is a frog rock. So again, you're rocking backwards and forwards. Now the key here is 90 degrees. Yeah. So we're talking 90 degrees at your ankle and 90 degrees at your knees. Okay. So there's no point in sticking your shin and or letting your heels touch together and having your shins in, because you're not going to get the benefit of opening up your hips. And again, you really do need that 90 degree here, and you also need the 90 degrees here, because as you push backwards, if your ankles are, if you've got your toe towards your shin, again, you're still not going to get the full benefit of the stretch around the knee, or the movement or the activation around the knee and around the hip. So you push backwards and forwards. Again, you've got something going on at the shoulders here. Again, so I've got 10 to 15 reps for about mostly everything, because again, it's to take your time. I will say something that there's a few movements here and quite a few reps and quite a few unilateral moves. It doesn't take that long. I reckon I can get through all this lot. We'll finish off in a second, but I'll get through most of this stuff in about, say, 10 to 12 minutes. Well, certainly the stuff without any extra bands or any extra bits. This is the first half of it, and I'll show you. This is a reverse Nordic. I really like these for warming up or stretching your quads. And sometimes, I tell you something, my knees can give me a little bit of trouble because my quads get really, really tight. So I think the culprit is I've got this standing desk that I use for my work, and I do a lot of standing. I'll do a lot of walking around, and therefore when I stand for long periods of time, my quads get really, really tight. And then it just starts to niggle at the knees. And I discovered that doing these reverse Nordics, especially after a long day of work where I've been standing, where I've been walking around a lot, or on my feet a lot, and my quads are a bit tight, after doing the previous work first, getting into these reverse Nordics, and the thing is, you don't have to have immense range of movement to do this. I mean, you'll see this. I'm not moving that far backwards and forwards. Yeah, I'm just getting enough to get a nice stretch around the quads and to get my knees, warm and get them ready to squat, because obviously your knees are quite important. Obviously, when you're squatting, they're quite key. So these reverse Nordics, see, I'm just straight here. That's it. I don't have to go any further forward than that. And then I'm just going to lean back. Again, what I am doing, what you can't see here because the shorts are quite baggy, is I'm squeezing my glutes to extend the hips. I've got maximum hip extension here. Obviously, you don't want to hyperextend your lower back, so you want to keep yourself nice and solid here. But I've got maximum, or I'm extending my hips as much as I can by squeezing my glutes, and I'm holding that position throughout the movement. So I have to rock backwards, rock forwards, and then rock backwards again. So that is, and this is so you can see this from the side. You can see I'm squeezing here. Yeah, I'm trying to keep everything nice and neutral spine, and then push back and feel the movement, or feel the stretch on my quads. So that first half of the series normally takes me about, say, 10 to 12 minutes. It wouldn't take you that long. 10 minutes, I think, for that. Then I get the band out. Now, as I said, you don't have to do all of these things, all of them. I mean, certainly the first half, it doesn't take long to do. This is a little bit of extra, okay? And this helps to activate your hips and glutes and get them fired and ready. This is the sort of thing you can also do before you're deadlifting to get your glutes fired up. But, so this is a banded supine abductor, yeah. So I've just got my head, or just got my body hanging off the edge of that bench there. Okay, so I am holding my body up with my backside, so I'm squeezing the glutes to hold my body up. Yeah, so I've got a relatively 90-degree angle with my knees, and I've got a light band around here, and all I'm going to do is just abduct the hips. Just a few squeezes there, but there's a better angle right here. So just squeeze. I think I do 15, 20 reps maybe of that. Just nice light band. I'm not trying to exhaust myself or tire myself out. The next thing is just a banded hip lift. So as soon as I finish that, 15 to 20 reps, the next thing I do is a hip lift. So I keep the band tension on. So I've got that external rotation of my hips on, my glutes are on, and then I'm just literally going to hinge about the hip. Hinge down and then back up, and hinge down and back. So this is just like hip. It's a hip hinge, or it's a hip lift, or a hip thrust, whatever way you want to call it. And then I'm using that band to keep the tension on, again, to keep the hips on and activated, and to get them warm. Incidentally, at this point, the hips are starting to burn a little bit. So you might just need one set of this. Sometimes I'll do one, maybe two sets. And again, I don't always include this. I'll show you the other angle. I don't always include these in my warm-ups, because my hips are feeling okay. I won't need to add this, but again, this is an option for you, that if you wanted to do it, you could. And the next thing I do is, as soon as I've finished the previous movement, I will stand up using the bench. Again, the same band, and I'll just light banded squats to the bench. Okay, that is obviously not depth for powerlifting. It's not about that. It's literally, again, to keep the hips on and get them warm. So again, about 15 reps for that, and it's just a nice light touch to the bench. The next thing I do, again, this is optional, but if I'm in need of a bit more, I'll just get on the leg extension machine, just bang out, say, 15, 20 reps of leg extension. I'm slowing this down a little bit more here, because this is a demo for a different type of video. You could go a little bit quicker than this, but again, lightweight. So you're just trying to warm up your knees. If you're still feeling you need a little bit more, you can do that. I mean, again, so all in all, the whole thing together, probably about 15 minutes in total. It's not too bad. It's not too bad. So about 15 minutes. And so I'll tell you what, drop me a comment and let me know how you get on, and I'll see you again soon. If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe. Oh yeah. Here we go.